Motty for Stretford, Paddock, standing in for Adam McKola. This is 7 reasons why Manchester United lost 6-1 at home to Tottenham Hotspur. I picked the wrong day to be standing in for Adam McKola, didn't I? An absolutely horrible performance by Manchester United. But why did we lose 6-1 at home to Jose Spurs? Well, first one, point number 1, Luke Shaw. Now listen, whether you've been a fan of Luke Shaw, whether you think he's good enough, whether you think last season was one of his better seasons, whether you thought 2 seasons ago he deserved to be the 2-time player of the year, regardless of all that, the fact was Luke Shaw was absolutely shocking against Spurs. Caught out of position several times, he looked lethargic, he wasn't closing his man down, it was just a completely shambolic performance. Now, there is some mitigating circumstances. I'll give him the fact that it doesn't help when your captain almost throws you on the floor for Spurs' first goal. But all in all, it was a bad day at the office for Luke Shaw. In a whole host of bad performances, his almost stood out as being one of the worst. It wasn't a great day for Luke Shaw. It wasn't a great day for Manchester United. And there's serious questions being asked of Luke Shaw now. You look at it, we've got Alex Telles coming in. We've got Brandon Williams. And don't forget, Luke Shaw was the one who said, we need to make signings. He's right. But we need to make signings, and one of them is a left-back, and it's more than likely now that Luke Shaw is going to be out of the team and Alex Telles is going to be in it. And after today's performance, no one can blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for rotating his left-back because it simply wasn't good enough. Point number 2, going back on what I've just said about Harry Maguire, lack of leadership from Harry Maguire. When you look at United's back 4 today, you look at how messy it was, you look at how disorganised it was, you look at your captain, your £80 million defender, your leader, the one that you think would be able to organise things, will be able to have a word with his defenders, will be able to do the basics right, and he didn't do any of them. For the first goal, he headed the ball straight up. It wasn't a head back to the goalkeeper, he didn't clear it, he literally just headed it up, and then he threw Luke Shaw on the floor. It was a mess. Then for the second goal, was it the second or the third? I almost forget there was that many. Where there's a quick free kick, he gives away a free kick, that's fine. You can give away a free kick in a non-dangerous position. Stand on the ball. It's basic. You do that at 5-a-side. You do it when you're a toddler. Stand on the ball. He didn't. He lets the free kick go. Eric Bailly switches off. I'll get to him later. And yeah, before you know it, Spurs are 2-1 up. It just wasn't good enough. Now, I know Harry Maguire has had a pretty horrible summer. His holiday didn't quite go according to plan. You may have heard about that. So maybe he's carrying a little bit of that baggage around with him. Maybe it's still in his head. Maybe he's still sort of feeling the after effects and he's slightly distracted. Whatever the reason, we need Harry Maguire to be playing much better than he has been for Manchester United, and we need him to be that captain, to be that leader. He's someone who's always been vocal on the pitch. He's always been able to organise. Whether you think Harry Maguire is good enough to be a captain, a United captain, whether he's even remotely close to the levels of captains we've had when we've had players like Roy Keane, Eric Cantona, Steve Bruce, Brian Robson, Patrice Evra, I could go on but I'll stop. Whether you think he's in that bracket, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to do certain things as a Manchester United captain, and he's not doing any of them. He's not organising, he's not leading by example, he's not being vocal, he's doing absolutely nothing. It was just a poor performance and a complete lack of leadership from United's de facto leader. Number 3, the third reason why Manchester United lost 6-1 at home to Spurs. Pains me to say this because I actually love this guy, but it's Eric Bailly. I was calling, like most people were after the recent Brighton win, for Eric Bailly to go back into the Manchester United team. I've not been Victor Lindelof's biggest fan of late. I think he's a decent defender. I don't think his performances have quite been up there with the ones he gave a couple of seasons ago, and I felt it was time for a change. I also felt, ironically, that Eric Bailly would be the perfect partner for Harry Maguire. He's got that pace, he's great at tackling, he looks like he can sort of complement Harry Maguire, who's a little bit slower, but supposedly can read the game well. But today we didn't see any of that. Eric Bailly was just shambolic. He looked all at sea. It was awful. Whether it was his heading, he was part of the Harry Maguire Let's Head It Upwards fan club, whether it was his giving the ball away, he just laid on a goal for Spurs' third goal, or whether it was switching off for Spurs' second. Was it the second or the third? I always get them mixed up. He just wasn't at the races and it wasn't good enough. Eric Bailly is a talented defender. He's a very, very good defender. And almost every single Manchester United fan I spoke to before the game, when they saw that Eric Bailly was in the team sheet, was happy about that. I was happy about that. But it took about 15 minutes for it to kick in just how poor Eric Bailly was performing. He was nowhere near the levels you need to be to play for Manchester United. Now, we've seen much better from Eric Bailly. We've seen him put in performances against very good teams that make you think he's a Manchester United defender. The problem with Eric Bailly has been staying fit and getting consistency in the team. He usually plays about, 15, 16, 20 games a season. If we're lucky, he'll have 3 or 4 games on a run, and then you won't see him again for a few months. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to ask himself a question. Does he stick with Eric Bailly? Does he give him that run in the team? Or does he bring Victor Lindelof back into the side? Or, by some absolute miracle, do Manchester United sign a centre-back? Or even, if Chris Smalling doesn't leave, do we bring him back in? Whisper it quietly. Maybe that's an option. I don't know. The fact of the matter is, though, Eric Bailly cannot continue to put in performances for Manchester United like the one he gave against Tottenham Hotspur today. It just simply wasn't good enough. Number 4, the fourth reason that Manchester United lost 6-1 at home to Spurs. I am getting fed up of saying that, and I'm sure you're fed up of hearing it. Our midfield, where was it? Where was the midfield today? What was going on? It was almost like we didn't have one. When you look at players like Dembele and Holberg and Suzuki, and they're absolutely dominating the Old Trafford pitch, getting on the score sheet, up and down the pitch, constantly, just dominating possession. You have to ask yourself, where's our midfield in this? Bruno started well. Obviously, he got a goal, as he always does. A penalty, shock horror. But he got pulled at half-time. Paul Pogba doesn't look fit, doesn't look right. We know he's had the coronavirus. And I have to think it's a bit odd that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer keeps putting him in the team when he's obviously knackered. And we'll get to that in a minute. He looks goosed, and yet he keeps playing him. We didn't have a midfield. Nemanja Matic, again, he looks all over the place. He's usually Mr. Reliable. He's the guy that almost got sold, almost looked like he was out the door, but by the sort of a shortage of options and by the force of his performances, put himself not only back into the squad, but back into the starting 11, where he's an integral part of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's play and his tactics, but he was poor today. The whole midfield was poor. And when we changed it, when we brought in the likes of Fred, the likes of Van der Beek, the likes of McTominay, it didn't get any better, if I'm being honest. We still kept giving the ball away. We still were all over the place. Spurs still dominated that midfield. It was literally like watching men against boys. It just isn't good enough. You've got a midfield that costs a lot of money. You've got a midfield that is extremely talented. So why is it not working? Why did our midfield become second best all afternoon? What is going on? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to address these problems, because unlike some of the other ones, you can't just keep chopping and changing our midfield. You can't keep dropping Paul Pogba, and you can't keep dropping Bruno Fernandes. You may be able to rest them now and again, but by and large, you'd expect these players to be playing. You'd even expect Nemanja Matic to be playing most weeks, but all 3 of them weren't good enough today, and the fact that the ones that came in to replace them weren't much better should have alarm bells ringing for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Number 5, a lack of real substitute options. Manchester United didn't even have an attacker on the bench today. We didn't even have a striker on the bench. You look at our bench and you think, okay, how are we going to change it? How are we going to get back in this game? Who are we going to bring on? There was no one. There was no real options. Van der Beek, great signing. I'm already liking him. But that's not enough. You need other options. We're bringing on the likes of Fred and McTominay, and I get why we're doing it, because we're chasing the game, but also we're trying to get the ball back, get some possession. But you've got to look at that bench and think, it doesn't exactly fill you with optimism. It wasn't a great Manchester United bench, and it goes back to the old argument that the manager hasn't been backed enough in the transfer market. We need signings. We need signings that are ready to challenge for the first 11, not just sit on the bench. But if they are there and they're ready to challenge for that first 11, that means you've got options on the bench then, because you've got a bigger squad. And we haven't got that in a minute. It's what undid us at the end of last season. We were having to play the same 11 and 12 players over and over towards the end of the season. And we ran out of steam in the Europa League. We just look absolutely dead on our feet. And you looked at the bench today and there was a severe lack of substitute options. And that is one of the reasons why Manchester United lost 6-1 at home to Tottenham Hotspur. Number 6 is it? I think it's number 6. 6th reason why Manchester United, is it 6? Is it 6? I can't even count to 6 anymore. The 6th reason that Manchester United lost at home 6-1, I don't know why I'm laughing because it's not even funny, to Tottenham Hotspur, was our players look absolutely goosed. They look tired. They look just done in. Now, you can argue about the reasons behind that. You can say that we've not had a pre-season. You can say that the end of last season is still catching up with us. The fact that the games were coming thick and fast. We had an FA Cup semi-final. We had must-win games in the league. Then we had the Europa League where we went to the semi-final. We more or less played, what was it, almost the maximum number of games. I think we could have only played 3 more games. It was only possible for Manchester United to have played 3 more games across the whole season had we got to the 3 finals instead of the semi-finals. It was a chaotic end of the season for Manchester United, especially when you look at how we had lockdown and we had to come back after that and cram all them games in. But other clubs, other teams are at the races. Other teams look up for it. Manchester United don't. We were second best all day long. We weren't running and sprinting. We were jogging. We were like basically lighting up a cigarette and just sauntering across the park like we were watching the boat race. It was ridiculous. It's just not good enough. You want your players from Manchester United to be given the role. And if they're not, there's only 2 reasons for that. 1, they either don't want to, or 2, they're not capable of it. Now, I think these players want to play for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I may be wrong, but I think they do. I don't think they've down tools. So for me, it must be the latter. They must not be fit enough. It must be catching up with them. Now, you can say that's inexcusable for a team like Manchester United. I've got a fly flying around my head, which is just one I wanted. You can say it's inexcusable, and you'd be right, because it is. But we have to look at why that is, and we have to address it. We've got an international break coming up now, 2 weeks. I hope all our players don't play for their country. I hope that they all have a rest, that they all feign a bit of injury. They do the old Fergie thing, oh, well, he's got a bit of a knock actually after the Spurs game. I don't think he can play for this one. That's what we need to see now. We need our players getting rested because they're simply not fit enough at the minute, and it's costing us points that we can't afford to lose. Finally, number 7. The 7th reason why we lost 6-1 at home to Tottenham Hotspur. The Martial red card. Now, I'm not going to say that was the only reason, that's the main reason. It's not, it's one of 7 that I've chosen. But it is a reason. Once Anthony Martial went off, it was almost all over then, wasn't it? That was it. Did Martial deserve to get a red card? Probably did. I know you don't like to say that. I'm a big Martial fan, and I was fuming when it happened. But we know the rules. If you put your hand up to someone's face, you're going to get a red card. The only thing Martial did wrong was when he got a sort of shove in his chin, was it? He maybe should have gone down, or at least he shouldn't have reacted. Eric Lamela did the dark arts. He did the bit of shithousery that players often do. He knew what he was doing. He dropped to the floor like he'd been taken out by a sniper. There was nothing wrong with him, but it conned the referee. The referee bought it. Instant red card. VAR wasn't saving him, and we can be angry about that. We can say it was unfair. We can say Lamela should have got a red card as well. Whatever you want to look, whichever way you want to look at it, doesn't matter. The fact is that once Anthony Martial got sent off, Manchester United's chances of getting anything out of the game were more or less non-existent. We had a tired Marcus Rashford, we had a tired Mason Greenwood, who were running themselves ragged but not getting much service, and it just wasn't enough. And we didn't even have another striker on the bench. The board need to get the checkbook out, and they need to do it quick because the transfer window is about to close. And when we have a striker sent off, we can't be relying on midfielders to make up those goals. It just ain't going to happen. So it just wasn't a great day at the office, is a bit of an understatement. It was an awful day at the office for the entire Manchester United team, but Anthony Martial getting sent off didn't help matters. So that's my 7 reasons why Manchester United lost 6-1 at home to Tottenham Hotspur. I've been Jay Motty. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe to Stretford Paddock. Thanks for watching.